Welcome one, welcome all. I am Sprometheus, the internet's unfriendliest barista, and today, in keeping with my commitment to only doing one review per quarter, this is my quarterly review. And in keeping with the theme of this year, the year of the lever as I've been calling it, it seems only appropriate to have it be the newest version of one of the most popular modern manual lever machines out there, the Flair 58+2. And personally, I haven't been hands-on with a Flair 58 since the original unit that came out almost exactly 4 years ago now. So it's been a whole ass undergraduate's degree. And coming into this new review, I did obviously have some expectations, some experience, and also brushed up on my previous review to see what my takeaways were, including this big one. But I feel like the Flair chassis with the introduction of the 58 has reached its pinnacle. Its peak of workflow and shot quality. So needless to say, as I cracked open the box of this new 58+2, I was pretty curious to see what had changed over a pretty extended period of time, and honestly, if they'd proven me wrong. But first, before we get into all that, I do have to say that Flair Espresso did send me the 58+2 for review back in early December, but of course agreed to my terms of no access to my draft or the contents of this video prior to full public release. But with all that out of the way, we're going to dive right into it after a quick word from this video's sponsor. Your coffee and your water are more related than you may realize. And that's why after months of testing and trials, I've landed on Third Wave Water for all of my brewing methods. And with their mineral blends that were developed and designed for every roast level and even specific brew types, you're able to not only enhance the quality in the cup, but also, almost as importantly, avoid corrosion or scale buildup in your equipment. In short, they've done the hard part for you. There's no guesswork, all you've got to do is mix in water and brew. So if you're looking to take the next big step in search of the perfect cup, head over to thirdwavewater.com/Prometheus or use code Sprometheus at checkout to save 10% off your first purchase. Thanks to Third Wave Water for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into it. Now, you may or may not know this about me, but I've used quite a few hand-press espresso machines over the years, and what I found is many of them are broadly pretty similar. Obviously, they're all hand-press espresso machines, but oftentimes they suffer from the same issues or have some of the same downsides. But I will say the Flair 58 was one of the best, if not the best option out there, considering its price point, its materials, and its capabilities. And in most cases, when producing a review, I spend weeks, if not months, testing and daily driving a piece of equipment to better understand all of its intricacies of its use, its performance, and abilities. But with the Flair 58+2, after a pretty short period of time, there was a significant sense of deja vu. On the original, the big marketing angles were the 58mm portafilter, which allows for a much broader market of accessories and baskets and the like, and the wired water cylinder that lets you skip the most tedious, yet in my opinion, most important part of manual brewing, the preheat. And spoiler alert, of course, neither of those have changed. Also, in terms of the materials, again, its all-metal construction gave it some nice feel in the hand and confidence in its ability to not only withstand many, many shots, but also do so over an extended period of time. And of course, as you'd expect, no changes there. Along with that, in terms of it being an espresso machine and being able to make espresso, it does a great job. It produces very tasty, well-extracted shots coated in glossy crema, and in the process, gives you complete control of the entire pressure profile. And if you want to take a swing at this one, what do you think? Do you think that's changed? Well, if you guessed no, you would be correct. So I think the question now in many folks' mind is, what is different? In terms of aesthetics, there have been some subtle changes. They've swapped out maple accents for walnut, which you can see here on the grip, the frame, the portafilter, and the slightly nicer, more premium feeling tamper. They've also sort of cleaned up the pressure gauge design, which in my opinion is a little easier to read accurately on the fly, and also now include a shot mirror to track your flow. When it comes to the machine itself, they've replaced the external controller for the cylinder preheater, which I called out as a little cheap feeling before, with a built-in unit that's wired directly into the frame. And also, they've massively reduced the original size of the power brick, which, again, I pointed out in my original review as a downside. So, looking at the 58 Plus, its original price point was $640 before the current liquidation sale that's running at the time of filming. And the new 58 Plus 2 is $685. And, basic math, that is a $45 increase. 24 of which is likely now in the included shot mirror, and the other 21 is probably tied up in developing a slightly different base frame and a wiring harness. And if that doesn't really drive home the fact or the point that not much is new here, I don't know what will. But before we get any further, don't get it twisted. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Yes, from my perspective, as someone who's tasked with reviewing this piece of equipment, when there's really nothing new to review, it puts me in a predicament. But what it also does is give me the opportunity to applaud Flair for doing something right. For one, they stuck with the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There wasn't really any need to update this machine or really go the extra mile to try to make it work better. Nothing needed to change in terms of its performance, so I'm glad they didn't mess with that at all. And on top of that, the things they did change, though in my opinion aren't incredibly meaningful or consequential in terms of its obviously performance, it is a nice quality of life thing, right? They removed some of these wires, some of these cheap feeling components that I thought were, kind of cheapening the experience overall in the original, and they got rid of them or they made them better, right? And finally, the other thing is they didn't massively increase the price. Oftentimes when a machine, whether it be an espresso machine, a grinder, anything in the specialty coffee market gets another version, you're looking at least $200 price bump. So before we wrap this whole thing up and hit the old dusty trail, let's quickly circle back to this statement. But I feel like the Flair chassis with the introduction of the 58 has reached its pinnacle, its peak of workflow and shot quality. Now, I may be a bit biased, but I have to say past me has a pretty good point, and present me feels like I was right. There really isn't much that's changed in this last 4 years in terms of the chassis or workflow. Sure, they put the wiring inside, which is nice, but hasn't improved the espresso or the workflow. So I call that a wash. The TLDW is, it's a great machine. It produces great espresso, but so did the original. And considering the 58 Plus 2 starts at $685, up against the 58 Plus's sale price right now of $512, it means deciding if a small but convenient electrical change that give you a bit more counter space and a shot mirror are worth it, or snagging a serious deal on what seems to be the outgoing model, soon to be replaced with this new version as standard. But on that bombshell, I think it's time I start wrapping this one up, and as always, pass the conversation on to you. So what are your thoughts on the Flair 58 family? Do you still think they are the peak of manual espresso machine brewing, or is there something else out there giving it a run for its money? Drop your answers to those questions and any others you may have in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that little bell button for notifications when new videos drop. Check out my Instagram at Sprometheus for more coffee content. Help support the channel by considering becoming a member for unique exclusive perks. And as always, stay caffeinated. Pony Boy.